Okay, let's unpack this. Picture this. You're dropping thousands of dollars on like enterprise-grade AV gear to wire up a massive, maybe a 160 screen sports bar.
Right, so you need absolute precision.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Flawless 4K routing. But when you scroll down the product page to buy the equipment, you don't just see technical specs. You find a highly apologetic corporate response to a buyer who had to deal with a grumpy phone rep.
It is such a funny contrast.
Yeah. So today our mission in this deep dive is to explore a very specific B2B e-commerce page from a vendor called HDTV Supply. We're looking at what happens when high-end AV tech collides with the delightfully messy reality of human commerce.
It's a fantastic contrast to examine, honestly. On the one hand, you have HDTV Supply, which is this 25-year-old vendor selling these colossal Wolfpack HDMI matrix switchers.
Massive setups.
Oh, totally. And the specific component we're looking at today, the Vitec AvediaStream gateway blade, is essentially the core traffic cop for all that video routing.
Right, so if a massive 160 TV matrix system is the nervous system of a sprawling venue, this gateway blade acts like the brainstem. It takes the raw input and translates it.
That's a great way to put it.
But I'm trying to figure out the mechanics here for a second. If I'm setting up that sports bar, why use an IP input specifically as the beating heart of this setup? Why not just run standard high bandwidth HDMI cables everywhere?
Well, I mean, it really comes down to distance and scale. Running physical copper video cables from a central closet to 160 different displays introduces severe signal degradation.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and just massive physical cable bloat. So an IP gateway solves this by encoding the raw video into data packets. It rides on the local area network infrastructure.
Which gives you that infinitely scalable control over where the 4K signal goes.
Exactly, without losing a single pixel over long distances.
Wait, hold on, though. If IP routing solves the distance limitation and the cable bloat so flawlessly, why isn't it standard in every single setup? Like, why do we even still have standard HDMI switchers if we can just throw everything on a network?
Because of the massive network bandwidth and latency requirements. When you convert uncompressed video to IP packets, you need a serious network backbone to handle it without introducing lag.
Right, because in a live sports bar, if one screen is even half a second behind the others.
The audio echoes and it completely ruins the experience. It requires incredibly robust, managed network switches to support these gateway blades. The engineering just has to be pristine.
So the technical environment has to be perfectly controlled. But, you know, the moment you look past the hardware capabilities on this page, that illusion of perfect control kind of breaks down.
It really does.
Yeah, I mean, you get past the logistics, right?
Yeah.
Like UPC 793132854626, exactly 50 units in stock, free USA shipping, and then you hit the customer reviews.
The best part.
Right, so you've got one buyer, Steve J., who's just thrilled with the price point, but then you hit a review from a buyer named John M., and he bluntly notes that when he called the company, the staff was, quote, less than friendly, but answered my question.
What's fascinating here is the company's reaction to John. I mean, they sell equipment designed to route flawless, zero-latency video across massive corporate networks.
Yeah.
Yet their response to this mildly annoyed customer is a massive paragraph of corporate apology. They bend over backward, thanking him, promising to train their staff on welcoming service.
They were practically begging for suggestions on how to improve.
Exactly. It's so ironic.
It feels like a completely different universe from the hardware specs above it. I mean, you can engineer a zero-latency video network, but you can't engineer a consistently polite human on a Tuesday morning.
No, you really can't.
It's a great reminder for you listening. Whether you're an IT director wiring a corporate headquarters or you're just trying to source a specific adapter, you can never quite abstract away the human supply chain.
That is the reality of B2B e-commerce. You are buying enterprise-level precision, but the transaction itself relies entirely on human relationships and friction.
Right.
The hardware might be flawless, but navigating the service supporting it is what ultimately dictates the customer's experience.
So here's something for you to mull over as we wrap up this deep dive. We just talked about how messy and unpredictable that human element of customer service is compared to the pristine hardware.
Yeah, totally a different world.
Right, but as companies rush to replace those slightly grumpy human reps with polite, hyper-efficient AI chatbots, are we actually going to miss that friction? Like when the entire buying process becomes as cold and binary as the hardware itself, what happens to the trust built through a slightly flawed but ultimately human conversation?